Hello, everybody. Joe DeLore here from Analog Man Cave, and today we're doing part two of criticizing Greg Christopher, the Chubby Funster's criticism of the Lost Mines of Phandelver, that first 2014 5e starter adventure. It was interesting. We did the first one, right? And just so you know, me and Greg are friends. We bust each other's balls because that's what we do as friends, right? So, yeah, but we have the fundamental disagreements on some things too, as you could see. And hey, who knew it? We could still be friends and still completely disagree on shit. Amazing, right? Especially in this day and age. Anyway, there's a lot of interesting feedback, a lot of comments, like a shit ton of comments, almost 1,000 views, I think. And if there's a common theme to a couple of the comments streams that I've seen, one is that Greg is looking at it as like a PC gamer or as a video gamer and approaching it that way. And that may be because I don't play video games at all. I suck at them and I never really play them at all. So that could be he's maybe approaching it differently because that does, focus your mind in a certain way. I don't know. I think it's a good food for thought. The other thing people said is Greg's looking at it as an intro adventure for intro DMs and intro players, and I'm looking at it as an adventure for more experienced DMs and intro players. And they're basing that mostly on some of the background and Forgotten Realms lore and little things you got to have in there. And I understand your points. I don't agree, however, as I said in some of the comments, because I think that, even though there's this attention deficit syndrome going on all around the world because people are too much on these goddamn things, right? And they don't have an attention span. I think that I don't think they put too much in there that somebody can't grasp and grok and comprehend and learn. I mean, the DM is always going to have that issue, right? He's always going to be the one who puts more into it than anybody else. He'll have to understand the various factions and whatnot. And I still, to this day, do not think that a few hundred words is too much background for players. I don't. I'm sorry. If you don't have that level of cognitive ability, you're playing it wrong. Then go play a video game. If you want the quick twitchy action with that any sort of lore or background, go play a video game. And by the way, a lot of these video games, they have a ridiculous long, I've seen them, my brother likes them, ridiculously long, like prologues and dialogues and data dumps and info dumps and all that as well. So, if it's for video gamers, it's there. I think you just got to make it engaging and interesting and then put it out there in such a way that people are into it. So anyway, that's just my guess. I guess my basic thoughts and summary of the first video and all that. So what I'm going to do now is I'll share a screen here with you. All right. And let me make sure I get the sound in there so you guys could hear it. Let's see there. All right. There we are. I'm going to make this bigger. And I'm going to make me a lot smaller. There we are, down the bottom there. All right, so we're going to play Greg's video. Now I'm just going to pause here and there and comment on it, okay? And please do like and subscribe to the channel. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, share it around, guys. It does help. If you're not being notified, click that little notification button so you get, notice of when my next videos are coming out. By the way, doing an interview with Glenn Seal, one of my long-form interviews. I'm getting back into that. I got a few people lined up. Glenn's first. Then two other folks I'm going to be doing an interview with, Jeff Talanian of Hyperborea, formerly known as Astonishing Swordsman and Sorcerer's Hyperborea, and also Matt Finch is committed as well. We just got to work out a date. So we got interviews back on track. So Monday the 13th, it's Columbus Day here, 2 p.m. Glen Seal. Okay, so be aware of that. And I'm also, there's going to be, for the first time, we're going to have a members only half hour after the 3-hour interview. Yes, 3 hours, you committed. We're going to have at 5 o'clock a half hour members only interview. So you guys, whoever are the members, could just hop in there and maybe pop into the channel. I'll share you the link and you can pop into the channel and, be one-on-one with Glenn if you want. So, all right. Anyway, without further ado, let's get to Greg and his nonsense. Now, just so you know, too, I didn't watch this whole thing yet. I'm going to watch it for the first time with you guys. I watched about 6-7 minutes. And I didn't find myself disagreeing with as much as I found myself disagreeing with as in part one. Okay, so he has 3 more parts, part 2, 3, and 4 to go. So let's see if we can get through part 2 here. All right, there we go. There we go.
Hello everyone, this is the Chubby Funster. Today I'm going to be continuing my dig into the Lost Mines of Phandelver.
By the way,
introductory adventure for 5e.
I sped Greg up to like 1.5. I think shit. Let me maximize this thingy. I am going to make it maybe 1.25. So I sound a little bit on crack there. So he's a little bit faster than normal.
D&D.
There we
This
go.
part is going to be focused on the town of Phandelver and the sandbox design elements that are in the module. I'm going to be developing some new methodology in this video that's not in Dungeon Design 101. Maybe it needs to eventually become Adventure Design 101, but I think the terms are pretty easy to understand. In RPGs, a town is not just a location, it is also a divergent information network that delivers content to the players so they can make choices.
Dude, you don't start off with divergent information network within a couple 45 fucking seconds, man. Now we're into that boring teacher, Bueller. What the fuck, man? Anyway.
About what to do next. A portion of the locations in the town are resources to the players, inns, shops, stuff like that. As written, Phandelver has the Stonehill Inn, Barthen's Provisions, and the Lion Shield Coster. However, they miss some opportunities here. The labeled map notes a smithy and a woodworker own buildings in town, and they could be used to commission custom products, but they're not mentioned in the text as far as I could tell. And the Shrine of Luck could be a resource to the players as a source of clerical magic, particularly removing diseases, poisons, curses, and so on. And the Miners' Exchange should also be a place to sell gemstones, large quantities of coin, or converting a big box of coin into something light that they could carry.
I don't disagree as to the first couple. I mean, but it's not hard for a DM to make that shit up either. But as to the Miners' Exchange, this town is tiny. This town is really, really small. I mean, you're looking at not too many resources. Not probably. It's not a wealthy town. So if you're coming back with 3,000 gold pieces worth of gems and you want to convert them to gold or vice versa, you're gonna be hard pressed to do that here. You have to travel to Neverwinter, which is the nearest big city.
Like a gemstone, but they never mention anything like that in the text either. There are also pointer locations in a town, places where the PCs can get information that gives them a reason to leave and explore the outside area. The text provides this in Eatermath Orchard, the Shrine of Luck, Alderley Farm, and the Townmaster's Hall. And finally, there are alert locations. These are places that let the PCs know something dangerous is happening in town. And this is a vital part of this phase of the adventure, which you remember is to secure Phandelver. Barthen's Provisions, the Lion Shield Coster, the Miners' Exchange, the Stonehill Inn, the Townmaster's Hall, the Alderley Farm, and the Sleeping Giant all serve this function in Phandelver, although numerous NPCs outside of these locations are mentioned to have trouble with the ruffians, and the Ruined Manor should probably also count, since going there will definitely alert you that there's a problem. But before I get into any more specific details, I want to address the forgotten elephant in the room. I like the Forgotten Realms, I actually do. So when I say dump this Forgotten Realms content,
when you said forgotten elephant in the room, they was making a fat joke against me, bastard.
Cut out this faction stuff. I'm not saying it out of dislike for the setting. I really enjoy a lot of the Forgotten Realms factions, particularly the Zhentarim and the Red Wizards. It creates a secondary layer of politics alongside.
I agree. The factions are interesting and good. Zhentarim are fun. Red Wizards are really fun to mess around within the Forgotten Realms. So I agree with that.
The feudal or city-state structure that governs most people. But Phandelver is a tiny town of, 200 people? Just the idea that 5 different factions are all vying for power and influence in this little hamlet is nuts. And
I absolutely agree, Greg. This is where I was like, I got a little bit further in this point when I was watching it the first time, and I was like, you know what? He's freaking right. Yeah, I can't disagree. Because what I did when I ran this is I cut all that crap out. I deleted. First of all, don't dump your damn factions on me, right? If I like them, I'll put them in. You can suggest them or whatever, but I'm not going to have everybody here. It's just the only reason they were here is so that all goodly characters, or even semi-goodly, because the Zhentarim are evil, they made them good in this, or neutral at least. They're only here so that everybody can join a club. Everybody has a table to sit at lunch. That's really the only reason they're here, They're annoying, though. I absolutely agree. There's no way to have this many fucking people. Organizations operating in a town of 200, forget it.
Edge this into a module where you're trying to teach new GMs and new players the game, asking them to learn even more about the wider world, stuff they don't really need. It just runs counter to the goals of the product. So I strongly recommend that all the NPCs in this town are just run as individuals, not part of a bigger faction, and definitely not as a recruiter for those factions.
I think the only one I used was the woman from the Lion Shield Trading Coster. She was the one, like, if you remember the last adventure with the Goblin Mines, you had the boxes that were marked with Lion Shield Trading Coster. I thought that was interesting because you would have some sort of trade representative on a town off of a major tradeway. That made sense, but not to have all these spy organizations. That's all the other ones are, the Harpers or whoever, the forest people. Yeah, they're all just spying groups, all spying on each other. It doesn't make any sense. So yeah, I kept the Lion Shield and eliminated the rest. I introduced some of them later on, but in a different form later in the campaign. So far so good, Greg. You're not doing too bad.
This is just too much for a starting GM and player to handle. They need to be focused on small, easily understood issues, the basic elements of a campaign. That's what we're trying to teach people here. The goal is not to create the perfect campaign that we might want as a veteran GM. Of course, we have no problem running this book as written, but it's supposed to be an introduction to running D&D for the very first time. I'm assuming this is the very first book that the new GM picks up after the DMG. So how
you got to understand too, they're trying to sell Forgotten Realms shit, right? So they're gonna. I mean, there's two masters here. One is we need to create a good book, and the other is we need to also have hooks for people to buy our crap, our other crap, right? So not that Forgotten Realms is crap. I think it just got crappier as more and more editions went on and more bloat happened to it. And that's probably why they're shifting back to Greyhawk right now. Because Greyhawk doesn't have as much bloat, doesn't have as much stuff in there. And since they fired everybody who knows anything over there at Wizards of the Coast, and they're stuck with idiot interns probably running the show. And they don't have any knowledge of Forgotten Realms other than what they could ask ChatGPT, right? Or Wikipedia or something like that. So using Greyhawk, there's not too much there. But again, they were probably plugging all this crap just to plug the realms and all the other books and stuff they publish. So
how should we teach the GM to use this town? I'm going to look at individual locations first and then tie that into overall information flow. The players are supposed to be delivering Gundren's supplies to Barthen's provisions, and it's the first building they'll come in as they come across the town. The text advised the GM to pay for the shipment and tell them about Gundren's discoveries, his brothers, and his plan. This really is probably the best time to drop that information, not before the players even got in the wagon, which is why I was advocating dumping that out.
I don't agree. I think that the adventure hook should be given to you before you start the damn adventure. I don't agree with that. Let me just back that up again.
Advise the GM to pay. How should we teach the GM to use this town?
There we go.
I'm going to look at individual locations first and then tie that into overall information.
I'll make sure I heard them right first.
Players are supposed to be delivering Gundren's supplies to Barthen's provisions.
Yes.
And it's the first building they'll come in as they come across the town. The text advised the GM to pay for the shipment and tell them about Gundren's discoveries, his brothers, and his plan. This really is probably the best time to drop that information, not before the players even got in the wagon, which is why I was advocating dumping that out of part 1. I would also advocate.
No, I just don't think so. I think that you basically should have all this information as you walk into the town because it gives the players agency. They have the ability then to have information and make use of that information as they're walking around town. They don't know who the hell is who in this town, right? So you're giving them power when you give them this information. And look, what are we talking about here? A paragraph and a half, right? Really, a big one and a small one. It's not a lot of information. If they can't figure this out, you're playing with the wrong group, man. That's it.
Not paying the PCs and having Barthen say that Gundren just didn't leave him any coin to make this payment. Remember, these are.
That makes sense, right? I mean, I think that's a good point, is that you get there and you're supposed to deliver this crap to Gundren. You make it through. You find out that, he's missing and this and that. But it makes sense that if Gundren never made it there is no money to pay the PCs. I kind of like that because it's like, oh, son of a bitch. Now I got to get paid. How am I going to get paid?
Gundren's goods that he wants for his expedition, not to resell in town for a profit. I would also expand the reward to maybe 50 gold each. You want to ramp up the incentives for the PCs to get out there and find Gundren, or more likely, one of his brothers.
I would instead say the reward for delivering the supplies are 10 gold still, but you have like an extra award. Listen, you find him, I'll make sure that you get 100 gold or something like that, or more money. Yeah, I could see that being. Okay, that makes sense.
Players really don't like not getting paid.
Oh, yeah.
I've said this before on live streams. Players will readily walk past an opportunity to make 5 gold, but if you steal 5 gold from them, they will hunt you to the end of the earth. That's just how people are.
That's true.
The text also advises the GM to drop some clues here about the Redbrands. I think that's probably a good idea as well.
Yeah.
But I have a lot of thoughts about how to reconfigure the Redbrands so that they make more sense and work better as antagonists. But I will get into that more deeply later.
I'm curious about that too, because there was a whole lot of Redbrand shit that didn't make a lot of sense in this. The one part, if I remember right, was where their hideout was. I mean, how do you not know where the freaking hideout is and the secret entrance to it and this and that? And they had their own little bar. It was like Tombstone, where the bad guys had the red sashes right at the bar. I think they were kind of using that as a model. And I go in there and take them all out, But yeah, I agree. There was a lot that didn't make sense. I'm curious what he has to say about it.
Let's move on to the Stonehill Inn because it's the hub of the town, as inns or taverns typically are in D&D. And there's a description of the inn and the proprietor, but the important thing here is the rumors. There are 6 of them, which I think makes it easy to be a 66 table. You can just roll on it and pull up one rumor at a time. Anytime the players are in this inn, they can just make a roll and they learn some more information.
See, that's the gamer in Greg, I think, because he does a lot of stuff at random tables. You don't make a roll to just learn something. You engage in role playing, and through the role playing, you learn something. And then the players realize that there is a reward for role playing, getting into character, sitting down at an inn, pulling up next to some dude or some woman and sitting there and say, hey, how are you? We're new to town, blah, 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 blah. Next thing you know, if you're talking to Lennar, he's sitting there drinking, and he says, oh, man, orc raiders have been out on the Triboard Trail. It's a pain in my ass, Hey, you look tough. Maybe you could help scare them off or something, right? Do it through role playing. Don't do you walk into an inn and the DM rolls a dice. You walk into this inn and learn a rumor. That's so mechanical. It takes the life out of what D&D actually is.
And that's going to prevent the GM from just dumping all of these rumors on them at once. And you want
I fucked that up when I ran this the first time. I dumped the rumors in multiple conversations at one time, and my brother's like, Jesus Christ, I can't keep track of this shit. So I made that mistake. So don't do it the way I did it. Don't drop 6 rumors on him at one time. You might, through conversation, through normal role play. I was in a hurry. I guess I was nervous, whatever it was. I did it wrong, but just do it through normal conversation and role play.
To space it out, create a dynamic where people leave the inn and then they come back and they get more information, and that cultivates a habit in the players of returning to places, asking if anything's changed, stuff like that.
Yes, that's a good. Yeah. But don't do it on
all of these rumors are alerts that direct the player inside of town to other problems. In a more advanced module, I'd probably put some pointers on here so they could just directly learn about things that are outside of town. But since we're trying to teach new players to dig around the town, this is a good strategy.
Mm-hmm. All right.
The Lion's Shield Coster is another core location because the PCs might be delivering the supplies that were stolen. In part 1, I advocated not even telling the players about a reward for these goods. I think that they should have to come to this on their own without GM intervention if they see the Lion's Shield symbol.
Agreed. I don't think in part 1 they told you to tell them there was a reward, because if you see this crap in the cave, all the Lion Shield goods that the I think it was not an ogre, what the hell was he, hobgoblin or something had, then you have no way to know there's a reward. But if you see the shit there and you ended up either stashing it there like I suggested, or trying to find a way to get it out, or some of the more valuable stuff out, then you say, oh shit, that's the same symbol as the stuff in the cave. You could tell this woman here, hey, you know what, blah blah blah, and maybe she rents you a wagon or gives you a wagon to go get it, and she gives you a reward. Yeah, that makes sense through the role play though.
On the crates in the hideout, then they see the Lion Shield symbol here in town. It teaches them to be proactive, to seek out a reward, to deliver it to here, to try to be useful to somebody in the hopes of getting paid. And I think that's a good thing to encourage.
Yep. All right.
The mining exchange is run by an ambitious woman named Hallie.
So far, so good, Greg. You must have learned a lot from my first video, giving you this valuable input and critique. Yeah, so far, so good. By the way, Greg's had a lot of new subscribers. So, guys, if the link below to Greg's channel in this video, just click on that and subscribe to his channel. He'll wake up, bust his chops, and say all of his new growth is due to me.
Yeah. I think she's a great example of how you just don't need factions to run this module. She only wants power and control. She gives you information about the Redbrands because she wants to displace them. It's super simple. Adding this faction content to her is one more thing the GM has to struggle to manage.
Agreed. The Zentrum would not have a power base here. It's bullshit.
In an advanced module, sure, make sure everyone's a part of some overarching network of interest groups from thousands of miles away if you want, but not in an introductory text. She can just be an ambitious liar. It's that simple. As written, the town has no functioning government, basically a clerk called the town master. There's a jail here and a pointer to go fight some orcs out in the wilderness. It also has some horrible Sildar Hallwinter stuff. I'm not even going to show you. I hate that guy. He sucks, and you should get rid of him.
I did get rid of him. I sent him on his way. He left town to go wherever the hell to find something back in Neverwinter, and I don't think they ever met him again. because he was an annoying. First of all, I agree with Greg. The name is annoying, and then I just got rid of him too. So and I'm in agreement on that front. Funny thing though, you talk about the mayor of the town and whatnot. I made the mayor of the town be the dude who owns the inn, and I had him dub himself the mayor of the town because I made a mistake at one point and called him the mayor thinking he was for all the players. And then once I said that, I'm like, oh fuck, I guess he's the mayor now. And I'm like, well, the other guy, this and that. I'm like, you know what? He just considers himself the mayor. Maybe he thinks he this is pre-Trump, but maybe he thinks his election was stolen or something. Maybe he just wants to be the mayor. I don't know. But yeah, I ended up calling him the mayor, but then there's the real mayor. I don't know. It was a mess.
It's dedicated to Timora. It offers a pointer out into the wilderness to visit a banshee and ask a question about a spell book. Here, the connection to the faction is actually detrimental. If the PCs take the comb from this woman and never visit the banshee at all, or they use the comb to get the banshee to answer a different question, which is possible, as we'll talk about in part 3, then the PCs have now betrayed the Harpers, not just an acolyte at a shrine in a minor town, but an entire world-spanning faction. And instead of having to just improvise the anger of a minor NPC at being screwed over, the GM now has to conjure up a response from an entire faction that will make sense for the situation. Again, this is an unnecessary burden on the GM.
Not to mention, but banshees are fucking dangerous, don't they? Did they scream and kill you or something in 5e? I don't know. I mean, it's just a bit much, you know, just a bit much there. How do you know the banshee's not going to kill you? It's a weak sauce kind of like encounter. You know what I mean? They're taking away from the thrill of death. Hey, give this evil undead thing a comb, and she will give you a spell book. I mean, that makes evil undead things that wail and kill people wussies, right? And so it waters down the sense of danger and everything here. So
the Eatermath Orchard is owned by a retired elven adventurer named Darren. He heard stories about danger at an old owl well, and he tells the PCs about it. This pointer will take them out of town. He also knows about the Redbrands secret base. It's pretty widely known as far as secret bases go. This guy is also a member of a faction, in this case one that strongly believes in.
That was the most retarded thing. Secret base, where is it? Everyone kind of knows where it is, but nobody's talking about it. It was idiotic. It was idiotic, the secrecy of this thing.
Honor and justice, which is why he has done absolutely nothing about the Redbrands and just tends his orchard like a little coward. It makes sense, you know.
Yeah.
And the Outerleaf farm is run by a halfling named Quilleen. She has a pointer to a druid friend that she offers as knowledgeable contact, but he's all the way up in Thunder Tree, and her son has found a secret entrance leading into the Redbrand hideout. Which brings us to the Redbrands. They have a not-so-secret base in the Dresendar Manor ruin and mostly hang out at the Sleeping Giant Tap House. Mm-hmm. The GM is told to escalate and push this conflict forward even if the PCs show no interest in the Redbrands whatsoever. In a bizarre repeat of the opening goblin ambush, you're supposed to attack the PCs with 4 ruffians, and the last one will escape if he can. How original!
Yeah, I didn't like a couple aspects of these Redbrands. One was that they get like 2 attacks around or something, even though they're like militia level, NPCs. It didn't make any sense. I mean, they were too tough. I took the 1 attack away to make him more realistic. I mean, the fighter of the group doesn't even have 2 attacks around, and he's a goddamn trained warrior, and these people are just like scumbags. How did they get 2 attacks around? So that was idiotic.
After this, the Redbrands remain a lingering problem until the PCs deal with them. The Redbrand ruffians are a great example of how designers create a convoluted situation to show off their creative writing skills, and then they fall into a Occam's razor kind of trap. So there's a guy named Iarno Albrecht, whose name sucks.
Yep.
He's a good guy for the Lord's Alliance faction. He came into town with the goal of establishing a constabulary, but he disappears exploring the Dresendar Manor. Then he decides to go evil and recruits thieves and outlaws to form the Redbrands. No reason is provided for this. There's no helm of reverse alignment, nothing. He reaches out to the Black Spider on his own accord and declares fealty to him, which makes no sense whatsoever. And the Redbrands start terrorizing the town. And all of this happens in the span of just 2 months. Let's instead imagine a guy named Orion Beklar. He's the leader of a mercenary band that collects taxes for the town. He becomes corrupted by an evil artifact. See how much simpler that is?
Mm-hmm.
The town master.
Except you're introducing an evil artifact. I didn't like that whole thing with the Iarno. First of all, I agree, stupid ass name. I didn't like the thing with the Iarno at all. It didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. So yeah, that was freaking weird to me. Back to Yarno here.
Fortress Hall is critical to how I would redesign this aspect. Phandalin is
You know,
city of Neverwinter. It would make sense that they would pay some kind of tribute
let
or
me go back
tax
a
as a
little
part
bit
of
here. I
that.
think I got a little
So to me, where that
pause.
is,
All right.
the town master.
The other thing with the Yarno too, I think that you got to keep in mind is he's a member of the Lord's Alliance, right? And as written, this whole this organization infests this town, infests the world, all these different organizations. What kind of screening do they do for new members? Somebody joins up, heads out here, and goes evil, goes rogue, right? Goes heels versus babyface. He goes for the heel from babyface, right? What kind of organization is that? I don't know. Anyway,
Master's Hall is critical to how I would redesign this aspect. Phandalin is relatively close to the massive city of Neverwinter. It would make sense that they would pay some kind of tribute or tax as a part of
couple
that.
days.
So to me, the Redbrands should be a part of that deal, hired by Neverwinter to collect some minor taxation, and then they become corrupted and now collect too much taxes.
That's an interesting way to look at it, but I like the frontier aspect. You know, Neverwinter is a couple days away, if I remember right. But I like the fact that there's a lawless land as a frontier. I think they were going for that Tombstone vibe, right? We mean the red sashes, the red brand. You know, anybody's seen Tombstone, the one with Val Kilmer, great movie, fucking phenomenal movie. You haven't seen it, please watch it. But I think they were going for that Tombstone vibe, guys.
Special fees, which they don't pass on to Neverwinter. And the reimagined Orion found the glass staff in Tresendar Manor, and it corrupted him. He uses charm magic to control the townmaster, maybe a few other NPCs as well. So
I wouldn't put an evil artifact that corrupts people who use it in the first level adventure. I mean, you know, you go from trying to get everything easy in the first Goblin adventure there, and Care Bear mode to throw an evil artifact in that corrupts anybody who grabs it. I wouldn't go that far.
breaking the political hold that he has on the town requires more than just one conversation, and this is why everyone in the town hates him. Everyone who's pissed off about the Redbrands acknowledges the security situation. They need these guys to defend the town, so they want change but not complete elimination. If the townspeople can't handle a few ruffians on their own, how are they going to defend the town without anybody? If I was GMing for this veteran player group and they essentially killed the entire town guard, I would have the goblinoid forces in the region step up their raids enormously. So PCs don't need to fight the Redbrands in the street. That doesn't make a lot of sense. They need to figure out what's going on with the glass staff and stop it. Now maybe Halia wants to change leadership in her favor and still be corrupt.
That's one way to do it. I don't like it. It's not the way I would do it because I like the wild outlaw thing. I like that aspect of it. So, the gunfights in the street. That's what a Western is, man. That's what this is. This is a Western town. You walk in, you can almost hear the whistle,
But that's something the players have to be involved in or not. Anyway, before we dive into the Redbrand hideout, let's take a look at the information that's available in Phandalin as it relates to the world map. The PCs arrive in town with one pointer already, that Gundren and his map were taken to Cragmaw Castle. They can also learn about Thundertree from Quilleen the Halfling, Wyvern Tor from the Townmaster, Agatha's Lair from the Acolyte of Tamora, and the Old Owl Well from Darren the Elf. 3 of these are encounters, not additional dungeons. I think there should actually be more of them, with less detail in each one, particularly along the.
I absolutely agree with that. What I did, if you guys know that there's a D&D, another box set for beginners that came out after this, and it was called the Dungeons and Dragons. Oops, wait a minute. Let me stop sharing for a second. It was the Essentials box set. Now, what I did, because I thought that had a lot of great encounters and a lot of sucky ass encounters, right? So what I did was I went through and I got a 3-ring binder. I printed up everything, okay, for Lost Mines of Phandelver, which, by the way, prints like shit because it's so gray, the background, the black and white printing. But then what I did also was I have a bunch of tabs for all of the various interesting ones from the Essentials kit, the Dragons of Icefire Peak, all that kind of stuff. So I have all the interesting locations from there, like Axholm and places like that, the Woodland Manse, Umbridge Hill, the Loggers Camp. So I grabbed all of those. I thought it was a major mistake that they never combined the Essentials kit with Phandelver. A major, major mistake. They should have taken the best of both worlds, put it in there, and it would have been a better situation. So back to this. There we are. All right, let's see where else.
Tribor Trail that the PCs are sure to use as a navigational aid. or maybe go back to the Cragmaw Hideout and clean it up for another purpose. But I'm going to cover stuff like that in greater detail in part 3. Thunder Tree is in ruins, functionally an open-air dungeon, and the Cragmaw Castle is a well-defended fortress. I will examine these in more detail in part 3 as well, but I draw attention to these places to emphasize that the primary purpose of a town in a D&D adventure is to provide access and links to these external locations, information that the PCs can gain without having to actually walk over to that location. And that's really important because they need to be able to make decisions about going one place or another using actual.
It's not just the purpose of a town, it's rest and healing and building contacts and getting a home base of operations and sort of investing yourself in the world. Again, this is the immersion thing. This is, I think, a good example, maybe the video game mindset that Greg is looking at versus me. I look at this as an immersion thing. You want to get to know every nook and cranny of this town as if it's your own. And, a good way to get the townspeople to like you is to save them from the evil Redbrands, right? And so then when you're in town, when you're investigating these places like Thunder Tree and Cragmaw, it's not just you're getting all the information you need to make great decisions. It's that you actually care about the people in the town now, and they care about you, and you have a relationship with them, and therefore you're going to do certain things for them because you're on a friendship basis with them, right? And I think that, again, this maybe is the video gamer thing in Greg, and whereas I don't play video games, so it goes back to the random walk into the inn and roll a d6 and find out what rumor you get, right? Or use the town people to get information to make a decision. No, you just have to do it through a very immersive way, as if you're a member of the town.
Information. They shouldn't be stumbling into every situation. Having information ahead of time gives them choices, makes them have conversations among themselves. This is the kind of thing that you want to cultivate. And for that reason, I think there should be more pointers than just one per location. They should conflict a little bit. There are a couple of extra pointers in the Redbrand hideout, but I think
you
there
could
should be
have
more.
different people having different rumors, right? Oh, no. Thunder Tree is more to the west. It's not out there. It's not where you think it is. It's more to east or whatever the case. Or Cragmaw, nobody really knows where that is. Some people say the southern part. Some people say the central. Who runs it? Who used to run it? That sort of thing. Yeah, definitely.
For example, maybe a cleric NPC wants to destroy
that does, go against the point of what you said earlier, though, of it should be a place to get information and make sound decisions. If you're getting conflicting rumors, there's no sound decision going to be made off of that.
Agatha, and that puts her at odds with the other use for Agatha in terms of answering questions. So the PCs would have to choose between those things. In general, having a lot of options to choose from is good, and there should be more options in the wilderness that are not even known about in town, and the PCs have to stumble across.
Agreed. And you can make use of those other ones from the Essentials kit. So Icefire, wherever the hell it was, yeah, all of that, all those different ones. I think actually there were two, right? There was Icefire, and then there was the Essentials. I think there were two different ones, but I don't know. I forget. Honestly, I forget right now. But I stole whatever was good from each of them and used it. That was it.
Them or find pointers to those locations from other wilderness locations and not from the town. So let's dive down into the Redbrand hideout, which needs to be tackled before the PCs can consider Phandelver to be a safe place. This is a much better dungeon than the Cragmaw hideout. The presence of doors absolves a lot of the light radius issues as well.
Yep.
There's about the same level of danger, but it's better spaced out, and there are a lot more interesting things in this dungeon. It feels like a cool location with a lot of cool things going on, and the players will have a lot of imagination that they can interact with. And there are way more valuable things here spread out across more of the space and giving the players a lot better return on their investment in time and blood. Room 1 has no defenders and lets the players ease into the situation. There's a cistern here with a really great hidden treasure submerged in the water. This is a good way to teach the players to be inquisitive.
Yeah,
I would actually
agree. There's a go bag in there, like I have to get the hell out of here bag, and yeah, that was nice. I thought that was a pretty cool thing.
Attach the rope outside of the water so I could tell the players they see a bit of rope and having.
So again, I disagree. You don't want to make it too easy, man. You don't want the rope outside because if it's a secret thing, why would the rope be hanging outside the water? Why make it too easy?
This initial find makes it more obvious that there's something there. In the future, they'll be more likely to just search the thing anyway. But you want to kind of.
No, they won't. They'll be more likely to look for ropes and to find something easy. Like it's going to be given to me, so why should I look?
To give them a little push here at the beginning. Room 2 is a barracks for 3 Redbrands. They can hear any loud PCs in the adjacent room and make a sneak attack, and this penalizes the player for bad sound discipline, but they can learn from it without it being crazy overpowering like a impenetrable thicket that the goblin.
Now, if I remember right, there was two entrances here, right? One was the one that Carp, the kid, knew. That's the one down here in the south, sort of the left of my face. I don't know if you can see my cursor moving, but it's down to the south in the middle. And the other one, that was a secret one, I believe. And the other one was this cellar door over here on the lower right-hand side. So these, assuming you're coming through the cellar door, I guess, is where Greg is starting it off, because that makes sense. That's the way it's numbered anyway.
Goblins can see through, but you can't. The tactical space in room 1 makes the fight pretty interesting as well. But the PCs also have a fair chance of surprising these enemies, which is exactly what I was advocating for in the Cragmaw Hideout. And unlike the goblins, these guys are carrying enough valuables to make these kind of fights worthwhile. The text says that most Redbrands.
See, the dumb thing about the layout, though, is that why would they be sitting here with the goddamn door closed if they're the guard? This is the only known entrance, right? Is this freaking cellar door. Why would the guards be sitting there with a door shut? Nobody's that bold. They have one guy out front or something. This might be the sleeping room, the gambling room, or the hangout, take a piss room, whatever. But there'd be one guard out here. I think that's what you should change, actually.
Have lodging in town, and I would stick with that. Make maybe one of these guys wounded and resting, and that's why he's here. But I would also make this the only part of the dungeon that the Redbrands even know about. Everything beyond this point could only be really known to Glassstaff. Interrogated Redbrands would only get you to this point, and beyond that, players would need to actually explore the dungeon. Room 3 presents the first pit trap of the module.
That doesn't make sense, because a lot of these other dots here are Redbrands, actually. So how would the Redbrands only have knowledge of one little tiny fucking room? It doesn't make any sense in their own hideout. Maybe other areas are more secret or, locked off that Glassstaff can get into. I think Glassstaff has the top left corner. There's a couple secret areas there. It looks like maybe one or two, whatever. But no, I don't agree with that at all.
Really like it. It seems like an open hallway. The players can either be cautious or just walk right into it. This is a great way to teach them, and they'll learn for
that was a very confusing part of the map. If you look over here at number 3, all right, look just below it. You go upstairs and you go to a wall which is solid, and underneath that, though, there is a tiny little dotted line thing with a door. So the door is under that platform that leads to number 3. That took me forever to figure that out. That was the one big flaw in this whole map. I remember trying to be like, what the hell is this? How do you get through with the wall? I had to zoom in and put the glasses on and see the fucking dotted lines there.
The future to keep an eye out. Room 4 is the first indication of greater evil than just banditry. If the players move too far into the room, 3 undead skeletons rise up to fight them. This is a great way to introduce undead, and the atmospheric description is also good. Dust, rust, tarnish. This place feels old and creepy. This is the heart of Dungeons & Dragons, exploring places like this. Room 5 has...
The thing that didn't make sense to me, though, was that if you look, room 5 we're going to get into is where some people are kept prisoner, I believe. And there's no other way to get to room 5 except to go through room 4. Why the hell wouldn't the skeletons attack them? I know they have some nonsense reason in the adventure, but it didn't make any sense why the skeletons wouldn't attack the bad guys as well as the good guys.
2 Redbrands guarding 3 prisoners. I would definitely change this up, as I said, and make these into maybe zombie guards that are under Glassstaff's control, and have him negotiate.
It's a powerful fucking dude to have zombies and skeletons under his control.
With the bugbears in room 9 for them to buy these prisoners as slaves. Room 6 is an armory of extra weapons and gear to equip more Redbrands. I think it makes sense that Glassstaff would want exclusive control over this, so it fits with my plan to make this area unknown to the Redbrands at large. I think you could also leave this secret door here open just a tiny bit, like as an accident, so the PCs will see that and realize that secret doors might actually be a thing.
Oh, God. More fucking Care Bear Smurf bullshit, man. Come on. It's a sense of... Jesus.
In this dungeon, and this is the first place in the module where they might encounter a secret door, so this door is a better one to leave open than the secret door in room 1, so I would do it right here.
Everybody knows what the hell a secret door is. I think the big difference here is that Greg is assuming that nobody knows what the hell D&D is. Everybody kind of knows what the hell D&D is at this point, it's common, looking for secret doors, things like that. There's nobody who's 100% a noob, and these days, not unlike 2014. These days, everybody looks online for videos and shit of people playing D&D. They know what a secret door. Everybody's played a video game with secret doors. Bottom line is what it comes down to. Even in 2014, everybody knew what the hell a secret door was.
Room 7 is a storeroom. but the multiple secret doors around here make it an important movement location. The description mentions 30 stolen beaver pelts taken from the Tribor Trail, but no reason why the PCs would even be able to determine that they were stolen. I think if you put the Lion Shield Coster emblem on these crates, it would show the PCs that Glassstaff is in cahoots with the bugbears to pilfer merchants on the road.
Yeah, makes sense. It's fine.
Room 8 is really interesting.
Yeah.
It's cut in half by a 20-foot deep crevasse
This is
with
messy.
a magical cold effect at the bottom. And there's a monster here called a Nothic that
Yeah.
lives in the crevasse and has a deal with Glassstaff to defend the dungeon in exchange for fresh meat and some treasure at regular intervals. It can communicate telepathically and has the ability to read your mind and learn.
It's a weird ass monster. I'm like, why did they make up this bullshit monster for this adventure? It was weird. If stuff felt out of place, but I found out it was in other books, older AD&D books. So yeah.
Your secrets. The text even provides some good notes on how to roleplay it. But this goes back to my point in part 1. The module predicts a lot of ways that this thing can work against the players. This Nothic would also know all of Glassstaff's secrets and could be a fantastic source of information if Glassstaff escapes or in preparation for a battle with him. This could be an object lesson on turning the tables on the villain by bribing one of his subordinates. Room 9 is a group of bugbears that are visiting Glassstaff. The Nothic would know all of their secrets as well, by the way. The text says they're here to help him, but provides no explanation of how.
You see that goblin there? This is interesting because I made use of this goblin. I called him Gum Gum, and the party rescued him. And they took to Gum Gum, and Gum Gum took to them as was one of their favorite NPCs. And this Gum Gum, this little, scared to death, peeing his pants prisoner of the bugbears who was tortured and tormented, ended up being one of the greatest NPCs I've ever had in any game ever. He grew in level and power. He one time saved the PC's asses because he raised a goblin army at his disposal, and he helped save Phandalin. It was just fantastic. He became one of the greatest NPCs. Everybody loved him. He's still around too. He's still around. Everybody loved this guy. So yeah, you can make good use of this dude. His name is Droop. I called him Gum Gum. I don't know why the hell I called him Gum Gum, but yeah.
They're doing that. They can't show their face in town. They aren't going to be beating up Redbrands. So what are they doing here? I'm not really sure. That's why I think my explanation that they're here to buy the slaves in room 5 is a much better reason to explain their presence. The weakling goblin that's here and a pouch of semi-precious stones carried by the bugbear add a little bit more flavor than just a simple barracks encounter. Room 10 is a meeting area. I think it would be a great place for them.
I mean, you want to give them a reason to be there. That's cool too. Yeah, they're from Cragmaw. They're looking to buy slaves, whatever. It doesn't matter. I mean, the unless the PCs interrogate them, they're not going to talk about that kind of shit, right? They're just going to there's going to be killed or killed, one or the other. So yeah.
The bugbears to be meeting with Glassstaff, but if you didn't want to do that, you could replace the Redbrands that are here with some goblins doing the same thing. It's just drinking and gambling. Unlike the Redbrands, the goblins and the bugbears could be fooled by the PCs in red cloaks, and I think it's a good idea to encourage that kind of thing in the whole.
How could they be fooled if, under your premise, this whole area is secret and separate? I mean, they would know that Redbrands are his other people who don't know about these, which as highly implausible as that may possibly be. How the hell are they going to get in? They would have the secret entrance and everything, really. So that's the only way they would be able to get in is through the secret entrance, which seems to be like the little kid in town knows about. How would the Redbrands not know about a secret entrance that goes into their play? Come on. It's working too hard to change something that didn't need to be changed. That's my bottom line on that.
Whole back area here. The PCs want to look for any advantage, and if you kind of indicate that it would be a good idea, they could adopt those tactics. These are things that new players struggle to think up on their own, but could really benefit them. Room 11 is well done. It's Glassstaff's workshop with a rat familiar, so while the PCs are searching through all of his stuff, he's spying on them and can decide how to take action. And then room 12 is Glassstaff's inner sanctum. It has some very nice treasures. There's some secret doors for him to escape through, although I have to say, everyone always escaping is starting to get really damn cliche.
Yeah.
But if you capture him, Glassstaff will reveal a huge portion of the plot. And if he flees, you get a letter that provides some of.
Yeah. So the Black Spider is a drow. The Black Spider sent 3 bugbears, blah, blah, blah. The Redbrands and a lot of background shit here. The Black Spider is looking for the Wave Echo Cave for the Forge of Spells. Then you get some information about what the hell is really going on. All right. But if you don't get that, you're getting my spies and never winter tell me the strangers that do arrive. They could be working for the dwarves. Capture them, kill them, but don't allow them to upset our plans. Any dwarven maps in their possession are delivered to me with haste. And so that gives a good clue later that they're looking for a map of this place. They're trying to find the way back Caves. So because there's this magic item creating forge in there. So that's the goal. That's the goal.
That information. But I again fall back on this is too much. I don't think Glassstaff should even.
How the fuck is that too much? That's one little note. That's one little note. That's not too much. Let's see what he says about the other thing.
Be in league with the spider. I would prefer this letter be a threat telling Glassstaff to back off and stop making deals with the bugbears, which the spider.
Why? I mean, I don't see that there's not too much information. There's like 3 freaking points. And what's the harm of having him in league with the spider? Now you know that there's a greater evil at bay, or an organized evil, which is even scarier than just some rando assholes. I think that's creepier.
Could describe as his allies. Not all villains need to work together. They're evil, and they should have their own self-interested goals that conflict. I think it's a better sandbox if Glassstaff controls Phandelver, or thinks he does. The bugbears have their own castle and territory, but they're open to flexible dealings with Glassstaff or the Black Spider. And then the Black Spider controls Wave Echo Cave and maybe some other territories if you really went to town designing this whole module. I also think it would be really good to have the glass staff as a cursed magic item that has turned Yarno evil and driven him to dominate the town. Maybe that was the fate of the Tresendar family before him, and when he found the staff, it took over his mind as well.
That's
this
a good
would
idea.
Teach players that not every magic item is good.
But I don't like dropping, again, maybe I'm being too care bear. I don't want to drop an evil artifact that changes people's alignments in a level 1 adventure. You're taking away too much from the player's agency then. Somebody picks it up, then what? You're screwed.
Good, and they need to be on the lookout for cursed items as they move forward. Overall, Phandelver is a decent town, and I think it has a lot of potential.
Mm-hmm.
So let's review.
Agreed.
Phandelver has a decent mix of resources the player can use, pointers to locations in the wilderness, and alerts about threats that are already in the town.
Agreed.
With a little rework, the Redbrands can be a mercenary company that players could eventually turn into a valued defensive part of the town if Glassstaff is eliminated.
Unnecessary. It's more work than you need to do.
How cool would it be to get to the end of this campaign and the players are helping build defensive structures in Phandelver, raising up the town through their own participation, and the Redbrands are a force of good in that effort.
I didn't have it like that, but I did have the PCs become a force of good in the town, helping raise defenses. As you can see there, there's a wall that remains all around, like a shattered wall. I had them use all the bits and pieces of that wall, and I didn't have them. They wanted to. I let them use bits and pieces of that wall, and they rebuilt that mansion on the hill there using all the bits and pieces of that wall. They had it there. It was good. So yeah, and they became the town's protectors essentially.
The Redbrand Hideout is a pretty good dungeon with a nice mix of content, and it can be used to introduce new ideas to the players like secret doors or turning monsters against each other, or cursed items, as I suggested in the form of the glass staff.
Yeah.
In part 3, I'm going to move into the strengths and weaknesses of the Overland campaign and what awaits players as they adventure outside of Phandelver.
That's a
Chubby Funster out.
That's a real picture of Greg, by the way, guys. There, not the one in the bottom right. This one here. It says his big fucking feet. So anyway, yeah. So here's a Chubby Funster out. Let me stop that. So I agree with a lot of stuff he said. I think he got a little too complicated in the descriptions. Of trying to figure out who, what, where, why are they all there? It gave him a decent enough. This adventure gave him a decent enough outline of who the bad guys are and what. But that's the beauty of this adventure, quite honestly, is that you could do whatever the hell you want with it. There is enough there. There are enough pieces there in this town to make the sandbox into whatever the hell you want to make it into. And any DM could do that. That should be part of the encouragement. Write something in there. If you don't want to use these factions, make up your own. If you want to put it in your own your own world, your own homebrew, you don't have to have these factions. Instead, what you could have is, and then suggest things like Greg has suggested, either this or that or this or that. Right? That's fine. That's fine as alternatives. Right, but I didn't think there was anything wrong with it as is, and it didn't sound like Greg thought that the thing was bad, horrible as is. So I thought it was a good adventure. It seems like he thought it was a good, good section of the adventure. We seem to have our biggest disagreement at the beginning, the first section of it. Now I have not listened to part 3 and part 4 of his review, but so far if I have to grade his reviews, his first review was probably a D. All right, for the part 1, and I have to grade this review. I give him a B minus on his reviewing skills and whatever scientific approach to dungeon design he's applying to this as a framework to analyze it. I'll give him a B minus, maybe C plus on this review. So, yeah, well done, Greg. I see you've learned from me. You've taken my points from my last video to heart, and are come around to the smart side of things. So anyway, I'll have part 3 for you coming up soon. I'm not sure when these things are going to drop, based on when I'm recording them and everything. So, but again, guys, listen, Glen Steel, Monday, the 13th of October, 2:00 p.m. Check it out. And if you're listening to this months and years later, go back and watch it, because I know it's going to be a great damn interview. Glen's an amazing artist, cartographer, writer extraordinaire. So that's coming up soon. So anywho, this is Joe out, but please subscribe, like, send it around, share it, guys. It really helps with the algorithm. Throw a comment in there, helps. All right, even if it's just comment for the algorithm in the comment section, that helps a lot. Okay, appreciate it. Thanks very much. Take care.